Oh, thanks everyone. Can you hear me all okay? Great. I do want to thank Jim McAleese and the team here for putting this on. This is a great collection. I've enjoyed getting to hear some of the discussion and the speeches earlier. Thanks to Secretary Mink for all of his support in going through ACT transformation and enabling the acquisition workforce. And of course, thank you to General White. Elvis is unfortunately not here. I'm sure he would share a happy St. Patrick's Day with all of you as well. But I do want to thank my AQ partners as well as the other DERPMs as we go through this process. We're working very closely with the DERPMs, and as on the Space Force side, working with the air side of the DAF, we're ensuring that we're working the acquisition reform together. The main thing I want to kind of talk with you all today, I mean, you've heard about the PAE structure, you know where this came from. We have obviously a lot of support on the Hill. We have significant support all the way up to the President of the United States on making sure that we are delivering ACT transformation. And as the Secretary said, this isn't something we don't know how to do. We know how to do this. We've got to get back to our roots and what we're actually wanting to deliver here. What I want to talk about a little bit is more what we're actually doing with the PAEs, how we're starting to structure it. Overall, you've heard, right, the PAEs are really set up to be able to deliver their capabilities, to make informed decisions on their requirements and their programmatics so that they can actually deliver. One of the things that we're doing first is realigning all of the PAEs to mission areas. We've announced 2 PAEs to date. One was Space Access, which was actually somewhat a holistic, almost PAE anyway, thanks to a lot of the work from now Major General Purdy and General Panzenhagen and the following teams to develop our space launch enterprise between Vandenberg and the Cape to ensure that we do have an integrated capability that's thinking about what it takes to deliver our capabilities into space. The new PAE that we had set up was Space-Based Sensing and Targeting. This PAE, the mission has existed for many years between the NRO and the Department of War in delivering battle space awareness from space. This one now includes our GMTI work, AMTI work, environmental sensing, as well as some of our tactical SATCOM technologies. We are in the process of standing up the next group of PAEs. I'm going to give you a little bit of preview. We're still working through the details of which programs specifically go into each one. But the first one, and one of the largest ones, is missile warning, missile tracking. So this PAE is taking on all of the legacy missions, going all the way back to DSP and SBIRS, but currently, obviously, next generation OPIR capabilities, as well as some of the demo systems. And then even as we transition, the proliferated warfighting capabilities that we have with the LEO missile warning, missile track, missile defense, and the MEO missile warning and missile tracking capabilities. So that is a big portfolio that we're standing up, and we'll be working through that in the very near term. Another one is infrastructure. So we've had a OTTI PEO that's been supporting the test and training for CFC, Combat Forces Command, as well as STARCOM, our training command. And they were set up to get OTTI up as a function. We are now expanding that function to become more of an enterprise function. So infrastructure will provide enterprise resources to all of the PAEs in addition to continuing to deliver the OTTI mission. This PAE is one of the ways we're getting after integration. I'll talk a little bit more about integration as we go through. The next one is, we continuously expand the title of this one, but our Battle Management, Command and Control, Communications and Space Intelligence, PAE, will be set up to manage our data network, C2, battle management, intelligence, space domain awareness capabilities, and integrate with our space control capabilities. Another large portfolio, a critical portfolio as we move forward and bring into operations our space control capabilities. And then our satellite communications and position navigation and timing. This PAE will be responsible for not only the sovereign PNT system with GPS and the follow-ons, as well as our commercial military satellite communications and our military satellite communications. The last group, I won't get into too many details today, but we will be setting up an integration PAE, which again I'll come back to, and we'll have the structure for our electronic warfare, cyber warfare, orbital warfare, space control missions, as well as other advanced capabilities. Overall, the mission areas have to be adaptable to support the warfighter. We are not meaning these things to be completely static, but we are modeling them, as Secretary Mink said, after the tower structure that the NROs had for a number of years. We're a very mission-focused structure. We're also utilizing lessons learned from Space RCO, from Space Development Agency, and of course the Air Force RCO, and how we actually get after and deliver real capability. One of the other things that I did want to mention specifically is how we're handling technology. Each of the PAEs, as they're stood up, are really responsible for the technology pull to their enterprises. So when folks are wondering, how do we, we've got a new cool missile warning technology, great. The answer is going to be go talk with the PAE for missile warning, missile track, and work with them to integrate in those new technologies. When you understand your mission set and you understand the breadth of that and you're responsible for it, it's a lot easier to integrate in new technologies as they come and are made available. But in addition to that, we've recognized over a number of years coming out of the innovation ecosystem, there are a lot of tech pushes. These sometimes lead to brand new missions, which has happened multiple times for the Space Force. But they also sometimes fundamentally change the way we go after capabilities. Proliferation and small sats are one of the big ones that we're now seeing impact multiple PAEs. And so that can't solely be the responsibility of a PAE. So we are looking to work with AFRL and our integration partners in R&E, innovation partners in R&E, DIU, SCO, DARPA, of course, and how we actually bring those things in. And as we stand up the integration PAE, we're looking for a tech push path that would allow us to bring in new technology as we develop it. In addition to new technologies, I mentioned new missions, one of which we're recognizing we're going to have to address. So I don't have the final plan for it yet, but specifically coming out of the President's executive order for space superiority, we do need to begin integrating cislunar capability into the Space Force. And so we are serious about that. We are going to be standing up leadership positions and integration points where we can start bringing those technologies in and actually have a plan to execute them going forward. That's how we'll be a good partner with DARPA, with NASA. But that's what we're going to do to leverage the development that AFRL and others have given us to date. So moving beyond technology and into the actual integration point, I'll hit on this with a little bit of the integration PA, but again, it's actually the responsibility of all the PAs. Integration across each portfolio, the PAs need to be able to do that within their own systems. The integration PAE is really going to be set up as your chief engineer function and our system, overall enterprise system architect function. Being able to understand and work with Space Force on the enterprise level requirements, looking at enterprise standards, enterprise interfaces, that's the function of the integrating PAE. So integration is not just their job, right? They're trying to help us in SQ and all of the PAEs get the job done. But the responsibility goes down to each PAE and each program manager to integrate within their portfolio and integrate with their partners. I mentioned BMC-3I as it integrates with Space Control. The Space Control PAEs are going to be very much working closely with that team to ensure that they are getting the capabilities they need, the space domain awareness they need, the battle space and battle management capabilities that they need. One of the other things to make sure that that every PA is handling is how do we actually do commercial integration. So not only just, we talked about S&T inputs, there's obviously a lot of commercial services out there. There's a huge developing commercial space industry, and we want to be able to take advantage of that. We've used COMSO, the Commercial Space Office, SpaceWorks to do that to date. And we've had a lot of success. There's been a number of StratFis, in fact, over a 400% increase in StratFis in the last 2 years. which was nearly 20 new StratFIs in that time period. That's a great start. We want to distribute that commercial integration, not just in the commercial offices, but into all of the PAEs where it makes sense. Some PAEs, may be a little bit more focused on other ones, but that doesn't mean they can't be leveraging commercial technologies, buying them, customizing them, and then using them in their government systems if they need to. In other cases, there are commercial services out there that hadn't been developed years ago. We should now look to take advantage of those everywhere we can. Just to talk a little bit more about integration, one of the basic functions, I mentioned some of the enterprise standards, one of the basic functions of the Space Systems Integration Office was to start to get after this chief engineer function. We are leveraging that one directly just so it's clear what we're trying to do as we're building up the integration PAE. Again, they will hold responsibility for some of those enterprise standard interfaces where they need to, and in the rest of the cases, they will be enabling the other PAs to get their job done. The last point I want to kind of touch on is really talking about accountability, both of the acquisition workforce on the government side, as well as what we need to do from industry. On the acquisition workforce side, we're really trying to do everything we can to provide the authorities, as Secretary Mink mentioned, enable, empower the people, and make sure that they are taking responsibility for what they need to do. That's including adding tenure to the program managers so that we keep them. We enable them to see a program all the way through. That's one of the advantages in some of the proliferation and some of the shortened program life cycles is that you actually can deliver a program instead of working one very small part of a program over a number of years, which is kind of a big shift for space. Additionally, we do need to invest significantly in how we motivate, train, and equip our government workforce. So we're looking at other ways to go after that. We obviously have a fairly small workforce, not just program managers, right? Contracting officers, the financial management folks, even CETA and FFRDC support is limited. So we're going to need to be creative as we grow the Space Force and how we actually execute these programs. This is a critical element of the acquisition transformation and something my team is very focused on as we go forward. The other side of it is the accountability for industry. At the end of the day, if we give bad requirements and we're not working clearly and not communicating clearly, that's on the government to get the job done. But at the end of the day, we're not the ones bending metal. We're not the ones actually delivering the capability. That is our industrial partners, whether it's a traditional partner, non-traditionals, commercial vendors. It's all of you all that make us successful at the end of the day. And so one, we want to work to enable you and understand what your business cases are, your business motivations are. But when you make a commitment, we need you to deliver. And that's where we are going to still continue to hold you very accountable. In 2025, on the Space Force side, we received the crawl capabilities here in SAF-SQ. We will continue that tool of having our, what we call the contractor responsibility watch list. For those of you familiar with that on the NRO side, that was a way to hold the teams accountable and really focus on past performance, making sure that we understand, when there was an issue over here, that we're not propagating that into our new acquisitions going forward. So that's a key one. In addition, we are doing complete reviews of all of the programs. We're going to be doing regular reviews of all of the programs to make sure that people are executing, the teams are executing, that if there's any roadblocks, we're clearing them, but if there's any issues, that we're addressing them. That could be letters of concern. That could be working on the crawl. It could be award fee impacts. It could be other things as we go through. And at the end of the day, it may be terminated programs, right? If we get it to unexecutable spaces, we're going to stop the programs. We will restructure them because we have to deliver capability. But we're not going to be beholden to this program's too big to fail, right? There are always ways around this, and we know how to actually handle that. Two other items I want to hit on, just as far as how we're getting after overall investments. We are very interested in continuing the partnership that Honorable Calvelli and Major General Purdy put into place with the VC and the private equity communities, so that we are actually working with and leveraging private investment in the space industry. That certainly helps us on the production scales and to get after the capabilities that we need to get after. The other one, most recently with some of the executive orders, is looking at foreign military sales. This is a fairly new side of things for the Space Force. We've been doing a little bit here and there over the last number of years. The fact that if any of you can even remember a couple of the programs, that's because there's only a couple of those programs. That being said, we're looking at something like a 10x increase in foreign military sales in the next few years. So overall, I've talked to you about how we're standing up the PAEs, that we're focusing them on their missions, that we're ensuring that they have the technology to deliver the capabilities that they need, and that we're integrated across the board. And that's all I have for the moment, and I'm happy to turn it over for questions.
There's one over here, sir.
Yeah, but as we do that, first of all, I'd like to thank you for being here today, and your comments are very spot on. Second of all, if you're not taking a look at his bio, I would absolutely encourage you to do that. If you look at his bio, this is the right guy at the right time, in the right position. Okay, with that being said, okay.
Very kind.
One of the comments right now by the Chief of Space Operations, General Saltzman.
I'll give it right back to you.
Hey, we can't wait for perfect. We got to deliver capability now. So what are you doing to make the requirements realistic that we can achieve? Drive down the testing, pull the schedule back so that we can deliver capability early when it's still credible and legal.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things, let me hit on requirements first. I'll say as a longtime system engineer, this stuff all starts with requirements. You've got to be able to understand them. One of the first things we did was sit down with General Miller and the S5 team and start talking about how we're going to handle requirements going forward. The PAEs need room to be able to maneuver their requirements and deliver the capabilities that they need. But I'll be very specific, right? We have a lot of legacy requirements in the Space Force where we say, you are to deliver 3 satellites. Why? That's just how it has been for a lot of time on a lot of these systems. So we immediately said, all right, how do we change those to be, you need to deliver coverage, you need to deliver capacity, you need to deliver, sensitivity. Don't tell me how many satellites to build, right? Let the PAEs figure out what they need to actually go do it. Is there a service available that can address some of those requirements? Is there something else out there that can mitigate that and allow us to say, as another example, to proliferate? So requirements are a big deal, and I will say, quite honestly, S5 and the team have been doing a great job already working through that and getting us off into the right foot. In particular, we're looking at that with the AMTI requirements. Next one is, I'll say test and training, right? Right from the beginning, the PAEs are going to be responsible for working with their operational partners at CFC and STARCOM to ensure that from the very beginning of the program, we know what our training requirements are, we know what our testing requirements are, we can work through developmental testing together with CFC, and we can ensure that they are ready to go and that we all understand what the goalposts are for operational tests so that we can get things into ops acceptance. Part of the other discussion on moving OTTI up to infrastructure is that we're also distributing some of the training requirements to the individual programs so that CFC and others aren't looking for one poor PA to try to figure out everyone else's programs. It's the people who are actually delivering their programs that need to be able to go after it. And then finally, in terms of schedule, it's really all about, if you've got the other things right, all of the requirements feeding in, you understand where your technology is coming from, then it's enabling and getting out of the way of the PAEs. And that's my commitment to the PAEs and the program managers is you don't need to come see me for every little thing. We're delegating down as much as we possibly can. We're trying to open everything up to let you all run. And we're trying to work with all of our stakeholders, certainly within the service, the Department of War, and then with Congress to ensure that the resources are available to allow the teams to run as fast as possible.
Sir, you've got one back here. And for those who don't know, Mr. Ainsworth was the technical director of the Golden Dome architecture.
Hey, Tom. Rob Matrevsky from L3 Harris. You mentioned structurally that the PAEs would look something like the tower construct for NRO. That happens to be a direct reporting relationship construct. Some of the missions that the PAEs will be responsible for, like missile warning, missile defense, are cross agencies. So is this an overlay construct with dotted line relationships or some sort of restructuring at the agency level to create direct reporting relationships?
Entirely fair question. I'll put it from my viewpoint as the SAE. The PAEs are the ones in charge. Those are the programs. That's how it's going to actually run. I will admit that it is an open question on how we're going to do organize, train, and equip with that. We are working very closely with General Saltzman and his team to determine how we're going to structure that. We have the existing structures today. We understand what those are, and we're going to make them work within the structures. As an example, right now today, SBST is supported by Space Systems Command, Space Development Agency, and the NRO. Some of the other ones as we stand up are going to have similar ones. You can guess who's going to be supporting missile warning and missile track.
Oh, there's one last quick one. We're right on the edge there, sir.
Hey, Tom. Diane Ashley with Deloitte. You talked about investments, and I'm curious if there's guidance you're giving to the PAEs on how they look at investments. Certainly on industry side, we're looking for ROI. And as you're helping maybe the PAEs think about investment, including bringing in private investment, are you giving any guidelines or thoughts to them?
I'll be honest, we're still working through that. At the SQ level, I think we've had a lot of good interaction. When we talked with folks like SpaceWorks and ComSo, I think we've had a lot of good interaction and back and forth. As we look to imbue those capabilities into the PAEs, that is going to be a mind shift for a number of them, and so we need to work through that process. That is the intention, though, is that at least for their given portfolio, that they are thinking about what is industry investment here, what are the facilities, the capabilities, all of the things I need to do to get my job done. And then for folks like the integration PA, like what are the universal things that we need, in terms of industrial capacity, could be, radiation hardened parts, whatever that may be. So we're very open to those conversations, still in process of how we put that into all the PAs.
Perfectly done. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ainsworth.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much.